Welcome back. Well, the Nasdaq's up 36% this year, and the tech boom continues. Where are the opportunities still for investors in your view, Shelby?
Well, the opportunities, they're a little bit twofold. One, sort of those misunderstood stocks, and two, there's also completely understood but sometimes over-punished names. So in the beginning of the year, we saw a lot of the tech names that are driving performance now get a little bit beat up. But we see opportunities in stocks like Microsoft, stocks that may seem that, they've been in this business for a while, what's left to grow? But if you really look deeply into their capabilities there, look at their management and their strategy and their access to some really vital components for future takeoff growth, we are seeing that sometimes they're just discounted because they're not as, they're not ramping up the growth track quite as much, but they're stalwarts, and that's really where you can find value.
There are two others I know you're looking very favorably upon. One is Mastercard, the other is PayPal. Your take on those?
Yes, with Mastercard, it really comes down to the fact that, sure, they're a payments processor. When we think about concerns about the economy, that first question is, why would I want to own that if there might be a sort of slowing in the movement of money? But if we also think about it in the fact that when we look at Mastercard and the other payment networks, you've got to go through someone if you're using debit or credit. If we look at the shift between debit and credit volumes as availability of cash tightens up and households continue to use credit, that's going to give a higher fee to the payment network. So when we look at Mastercard, we see a company that operates in a favorable environment sort of no matter what, because all of the money has to move through them. They're large enough to continue to acquire and engage in partnerships with any potential competition. And I think that really just positions them well to go ahead and capitalize in largely any sort of environment. Whether or not the valuation is at a premium or a little bit underpriced is a separate discussion, but the fundamentals of the company we find to be really valuable.
And how are you thinking about AI these days? I know you've done some work on it internally, and you're also looking at it from a broader investor point of view. What do you think?
When we think about AI, it's at least sort of two parts. From one is the internal part of how can we use this on our team? How can we sort of even just get 4 hours back? Not necessarily how can we change our business model, but what can we do to sort of help ourselves along with some of those tasks that are easier, that we can just have running concurrently while we're doing that sort of active thought work that is really vital in active management. On the other end, we're looking at our portfolio and saying, which companies already have the leverage for this? Which companies, as Microsoft CEO said himself, are able to leverage AI from going autopilot to copilot? Which companies are already ready for that? And we do have a number of those in our portfolio, and it makes us excited to know that we have these management teams that are already prepared. They've already got the brain power. This is not a new build out that they're doing, and they're able to leverage it, get the best access. When we look at the fact that, once again, Microsoft has some of those better relationships with NVIDIA, being able to get themselves a little bit closer in the front of the line and be able to leverage that capability.
So this is a topic that's not going to go away. It's not a passing fancy, and we'll be hearing more about AI from you and others over the coming months, right?
I do think so. I think maybe some of the valuations that we see in the market, probably transitory. But the concept is there is going to be a change. Will it be as revolutionary as the market's pricing in? Perhaps not. But it is going to change the way that companies operate, and it will change the margin profile for a number of tech companies.
We'll all be watching. Thanks for joining us, Shelby.
Thank you, Merrill.
Check out today's business headlines as well as timely analysis that's published every day at QZ.com.